Aloha, everyone. So, as we close out the end of 2024 and start fresh with new beginnings in year 2025, I decided to get the drone up in the air to do another full tour of Lahaina town to see how much progress has been made since the fire. Now, it's been nearly 18 months since the fire, and it's been a couple months since I did my last full video tour. And I have to say that I'm really excited to see how many homes have begun construction since my last video, because we're already starting to see a lot of progress just by driving through town on the ground, and hopefully the aerial view will give us an even better perspective. Let's go check it out. Just like I've done on all of my previous tours of Lahaina, we're going to start on the far south end of town in an area called Puamana. From here, we're going to spin towards the north, and we're going to follow Front Street and the coastline all the way to the north end of town, and then circle back a little bit further up the hillside to cover as much area as possible. We'll also take a separate flight following Lahaina Luna Road from the coast all the way up into the Lahaina Luna neighborhood and then back down the hill. I'll provide timestamps in the description down below to key neighborhoods and key landmarks throughout Lahaina town so you can jump to the areas that are of most interest to you. That being said, the whole video is worth watching if you have the time, as I'll share stats and information that recaps what we've accomplished over the past year. We're now starting to fly over the part of Puamana that was hardest hit by the fire, and we're coming up on the southern tip of Front Street. Now, if you've been following along with Lahaina's progress, you already know that we completed the cleanup of ash and debris in residential neighborhoods several months ago. One question that I've seen repeated a lot in the comment section of my previous videos has people asking why everything is still so gray. All the gray material that you're seeing on the empty lots is gravel that's been spread over them to help with erosion control. As you can see, there isn't a lot of construction happening in this part of Lahaina yet. Most of the neighborhoods closest to the ocean are in what's called a Special Management Area, or SMA, which does add an extra layer of complexity to the permitting process. It's unfortunate that things are moving so slowly in these areas, but we will see more homes being built in the Waiakuli and Lahaina Luna neighborhoods later in the video. The high-rise building that you see coming up on the ocean side of Front Street is Lahaina Shores. Now, Lahaina Shores is working towards potentially reopening as soon as June of 2025. If you're interested in more information on Lahaina Shores, I did release a video just a couple weeks ago where I go into detail on the progress that's being made there. As we approach the Lahaina Harbor here, I'm going to start a new flight to continue our tour through the middle of Lahaina town. The harbor has been cleaned up for a long time now, but this area is still closed to the public, and I'll tell you why in a second here. But for now, pay attention to the progress we're seeing in the shoring of the old courthouse historical building, and we're going to be flying right over the top of the famous banyan tree. Every time we fly over this area, the tree looks greener and healthier, which of course is a very promising sign as it has become a symbol of Lahaina's recovery to many people. We're now flying through the commercial portion of town, which held a lot of restaurants and shops before the fire, and is the area that most visitors to Lahaina are familiar with. Now, this area is still closed to the public because they are still working on completing the cleanup of commercial properties. That being said, as of December 26th, the Army Corps of Engineers reports that 95% of commercial properties have been cleared of their ash and debris, and there's only 8 lots remaining to be cleared. In fact, the Maui Emergency Management Agency just announced that they will be reducing the size of the restricted commercial bubble from 9 checkpoints to just 4 starting December 31st. On the right, we just passed the shopping center that used to hold the Foodland grocery store, and we're now coming up on the intersection of Front Street and Papala'ua Street. Just on the other side of the street is the area that was once known as the Outlets of Maui. We're coming up on the property that held the Lahaina United Methodist Church, and you can see that most of the ash and debris has been removed there as well. Next is the intersection of Front Street and Baker Street. This is where we get back into a more residential area, starting with the Channel House, followed by Lahaina Residential, and then Front Street Apartments. In previous videos, I would continue to follow Front Street here, but this time I decided to follow the coastline so you can get a good view of Baby Beach. Now, if you look closely, you can see another very positive sign of progress for the Lahaina community, as people have returned to enjoying the calm waters of Baby Beach. As we round the corner here at Baby Beach, we're coming up on the property that held the Lahaina Jodo Mission. And if you look to the far right-hand side of the screen right now, you can see that the giant Buddha statue still remains there. At the very top of the screen, you can see Ka'anapali off in the distance. And we're coming up on the Mala Wharf and the Lahaina boat ramp. Speaking of boats, earlier this month, an environmental court has halted the renewal of commercial boat permits in Kaanapali until an environmental assessment can be done. This decision leaves business owners uncertain of whether they'll be able to operate in 2025. The lawsuit dates back to 2017, but the timing could not be worse as the community is already struggling with business and job losses. And speaking of businesses, we're now entering a portion of Front Street that survived the fire and has already been open to the public for most of this year. We're flying over the old Lahaina Luau and several restaurants like Aloha Mixed Plate, Star Noodle, and Mala Ocean Tavern. You can see for yourself that there is already plenty of activity in this area, but one way to help the Lahaina community is to come and support these businesses when you travel to Maui. We're now coming back into a long stretch of residential neighborhoods. Again, all the properties that are on the ocean side of the highway are in the special management area, so we don't see any homes being built here yet. The building that we're flying over right now is the Lahaina Roads condominium complex that survived the fire. The exciting part of the tour is coming up here shortly. As we cross the highway into the Waiakuli neighborhood, we will see a bunch of homes under construction. Now, one way to track the rebuild progress is to look at the number of building permits that have been issued. And according to Maui Recover's website, 359 residential properties in Lahaina have already submitted for building permits. And out of those submitted, 152 have been approved and issued so residents can start to rebuild their homes. When you consider that 1,564 properties have been cleared of ash and debris, that means that the 152 building permits that have been issued is about 10% of the homes that were lost in the fire. That's pretty good progress. However, it is a bit disappointing to report that only 2 homes in Lahaina have completed construction so far. This block of Waiakuli in particular appears to have several homes that look to be nearing completion. To be fair though, it can be difficult to tell which homes are new and which ones survived the fire from this distance. But if you're really curious about the amount of progress over the past year, you can reference my previous video tours in this area where I fly a very similar path. Now as we reach the north end of Lahaina town, we're going to turn around and start heading back in the other direction. As we spin, you'll see a couple temporary housing sites that have been built above the old neighborhood. The first one is a state-funded project with 450 planned units that will house up to 1,500 wildfire survivors. Families actually started moving into these homes all the way back in August. One thing that I noticed that is different from my previous videos in this area is the green grass between the old neighborhood and the temporary housing sites. The green really sticks out compared to the empty lots and the dry grass that surrounds Lahaina. It is normal for Lahaina to be very dry during the summer months, but this has felt like an unusually dry winter so far. December through April are typically the rainiest months of the year in Lahaina, so hopefully we will start to get more rain in the new year. On the top left-hand side of the screen, you see the Kilohana temporary housing site that's being funded by FEMA. This project consists of 167 modular homes that will house wildfire survivors. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers actually began construction on this project in May of 2024, and the first residents just moved in on November 22nd, 2024, following a traditional blessing ceremony. And since we're talking about FEMA and the federal government's assistance, I think it's important to mention that Congress recently approved an additional $1.6 billion in disaster relief funds to Maui. This is in addition to the $3 billion that had already been provided in various forms like debris removal assistance and the rental assistance. I see a lot of comments on my Lahaina videos that suggest that the only governmental assistance that Lahaina received was $700 per person, and that simply is not true. As we reach the end of the Waiakuli neighborhood, we're going to spin and look up the hill so you can see the progress that's being made on the affordable housing project that was started before the fire. Okay, jumping back to the ocean side of the highway, we're going to fly right over the top of the Cannery Mall. And as you can see, the parking lot is full and it is busy in this area. Most of the stores in the mall have reopened, with some of them relocated from Front Street buildings that were lost in the fire. And a new food court has opened up in the mall as well. The construction that you see below us right now are commercial projects that were planned before the fire. Next, we'll fly over the Kohoma Stream and into my old neighborhood, Kohoma Village. Another sign of progress in the neighborhood is that we did get approved building permits to rebuild the townhomes that were lost in the fire. And as you can see, we already started construction. Okay, from here, we're going to jump ahead a little ways because I want to start a new flight where I show you the progress that's being made in the Lahaina Luna neighborhood. We're starting from the coastline right over the top of the area that used to hold popular restaurants like Kimo's and Cheeseburger in Paradise. And we'll follow Lahaina Luna Road all the way up to the top of the burn zone. In the middle of the screen now is where the Plantation Inn was located prior to the fire. This next intersection is Waine'e Street and Lahaina Luna Road, followed by the intersection of Lahaina Luna Road and the Hono'api'ilani Highway. And of course, you can't miss the old Pioneer Mill smokestack coming up. Now, about a month ago, I released a video that focused on the history of this prominent landmark and the debate of whether it should be torn down or not. If you haven't already seen that video, you might want to check it out after this one. I personally think that we should preserve as much of Lahaina's history as possible and keep the smokestack. As we climb the hill, you'll see a lot of homes under construction in this area. We actually already passed a few. By the way, if you haven't already, don't forget to like the video if you appreciate the regular, fact-based updates on Lahaina's recovery. These videos are intended to keep awareness on Lahaina, and the more you like and share the video, the more exposure and support the town will receive. Okay, we've just about reached the top of the burn zone, so we're going to spin around and head back down the hill. On the top of the screen now, you see a mid-rise building on the other side of the Coahoma Stream. This is another permanent, affordable housing project that's making good progress in its rebuild. This is another area where we see a lot of homes in various stages of being rebuilt. On the top third of the screen, on the left-hand side of the Coahoma Stream, you see the Opakea at Lahaina condominium complex. And on the right side of the Coahoma Stream is the Ho'onanea condominium complex. We're going to fly right over the top of both of those communities. Now that we're almost a year and a half since the fire, we are starting to see more real estate activity in Lahaina. There are new listings for sale in a lot of the communities that we've looked at so far in this video, including Ho'onanea, Opakea, Coahoma Village, and most recently, Lahaina Shores. While some people are excited to participate in the rebirth of Lahaina, others are ready to move on. In the description, I'll share a link to all the current listings in Lahaina so you can see for yourself. We're now flying over another commercial area of Lahaina that used to hold businesses like the Mind's Eye Interior, Choice Health Bar, the Sly Mongoose Bar, the Pawn Shop, and the Sugarcane Food Truck Park. From here, we're going to jump back to the ocean side of the highway where we left off, and we'll continue our path to the south. The building with the bright red roof is the Maria Lanakila Catholic Church. As another great sign of progress for Lahaina, the church has reopened earlier this month with regular services, just in time for Christmas. On the left-hand side of the screen now is where Ainanalu condominium complex was located prior to the fire. Coming up in the center of the screen, the giant square rock wall is the old prison museum. And just past that is Prison Street. If you look to the top left-hand side of the screen, on the other side of the highway, you see the Lahaina Aquatic Center. And I'm happy to report that the Aquatic Center did reopen earlier this year. To recap this video and the year 2024 in general, we have made significant progress in Lahaina over the past year. With most of the cleanup completed, 10% of the building permits for residential rebuild have been issued, and dozens of homes are currently under construction. Although we all wish the rebuild would go faster, I think we are ahead of schedule and headed in the right direction. I look forward to seeing many more homes and hopefully businesses being rebuilt in 2025. Anyways, thanks for watching all the way to the end. Subscribe to the channel if you want to stay informed on what is happening in Lahaina, and feel free to share this video with anyone you know who would also like to follow along with the progress. I hope to see you all in the next one. Aloha.